everybody? Welcome to another episode of Trust Your Board podcast. My name's Stephen Wright, joined as always by Mr. William Monroe. Got another mini mock episode here for you all today. Will, what are we doing?
Today we have a 12-team half-point PPR mock draft in which you, sir, are drafting out of the 6th spot and I will be drafting out of the 11th spot.
Awesome. Ready to get going?
Do it.
Okay, so we got the ball rolling here. Looks like Zeke went off first. And then McCaffrey, Kamara, Barkley, and Cook. I am on the clock here, and I will happily start with a running back. We're kind of in that tier where things are a bit of interesting. Everybody has their own kind of preferences here. We got Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, Nick Chubb, Joe Mixon, Miles Sanders, Aaron Jones, top of the board ADP-wise. A tough call. Given that it's half point, that gives me an idea to lean towards Henry. If it was full point PPR, I'd probably be looking at Mixon or Jacobs here. But given it's half point, we're a little bit close to standard. Those catches don't mean as much. That boosts Henry up a little bit, So I'm going to go ahead and lock in Mr. Henry. See what gets back to me here. After Derrick Henry went Josh Jacobs, and then Michael Thomas, Nick Chubb, and Aaron Jones. Picks to you.
All right, so it's interesting. I was hoping maybe Chubb or Jacobs. I know you're big on Aaron Jones. Makes sense that he goes here in the first round, but I'm not thrilled about him this year. So I think at this point I'm probably looking to a Mixon unless I want to go wide receiver and hope that Mixon or Sanders gets back, but risk that team behind me takes one of those two. I think that's kind of the end of the tier there. I always got to scroll down because Kenyon Drake is always so much lower than I imagine he is. He's pretty far down there too. I think we'll go Joe Mixon here, and then it'll probably be looking at Miles Sanders next or wide receiver because there's still those top guys on the board there. Lock in Mixon, Tyreek goes, and DeAndre Hopkins. So they'll have Devontae Adams on the board, which hard to pass up. Miles Sanders there, Julio. You got those top quarterbacks. Surprisingly, ADP is up pretty high. I feel like usually they get drafted higher than they should, but the ADP usually is there. So interesting to see their ADP at 17 and 18. Hard to pass up Adams here. I think if this is what fell to me, I think I'd have to take Adams as much as I do love Miles and love Drake. Already got Mixon locked in. And Adams is just too much potential. I know people are worried about Rodgers a bit, but I think he'll be fine this year. Adams should be, top, at least wide receiver 1. Great shot at a top 5 wide receiver, and he's in the mix for that guy that could be the wide receiver 1 of the year. So we'll lock in Devontae Adams. After that goes Julio, Patrick Mahomes, Miles Sanders, and Travis Kelce to you.
Okay, so I am glad that things worked out this way. I got something I want to try on one of our hour-long mocks. Whenever we get one that's just me and you, we don't have a guest, so we can do the full mock.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Lamar Jackson here.
Test it out.
Yeah, just test it out and see if I can go with like a RB-heavy approach early on, and then see what my wide receiver core looks like when I'm all said and done. So we're going to lock in Lamar Jackson. It kind of sucks because Kenyon Drake fell there.
Yeah.
He's going to be one of them players where he just bounces around, man. Some people are going to draft him in the first. Some people it's going to be in the second.
Yeah, you might even see him fall into the early third because some people just don't trust him, I feel like. But
yeah, they don't. And I mean, it also depends on how, like, some people are off on Chubb. They think he's going to be a 2 this year, like you said. Some people are off on Aaron Jones. So depends how you feel about those people too. So it's very interesting. He's going to be fun to watch. But for me, I'm going to do the abnormal and lock in Lamar Jackson here. After that pick went Mike Evans, Austin Eckler, Chris Godwin, Kenyon Drake, and George Kittle to round out the second. Going into the third, we have Adam Thielen, James Conner, Kenny Golladay, Melvin Gordon, and Chris Carson, which is a shame because Chris Carson would have been awesome here. But what can you do? So I'm looking at some of the more volume-heavy guys. We got Fournette, we got Bell, we got David Johnson, Todd Gurley, David Montgomery's on the board. We got a high upside guy and Clyde Edwards-Helaire on the board. I'm not even going to bother looking at the other positions because part of the strategy would be pounding running back early and then maybe relying on a later guy like a Jordan Howard or a Sony here to help round out the running back core later. But
yeah, you kind of have an RB2 there with Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, just a bit.
Yeah.
For sure. But I'm going to lock in another guy. I don't know which of these guys I feel is the safest. I'm not really looking for upside. I kind of want to play it safe and get a nice floor. It's probably between Fournette and Bell for me as far as like top ADP. I don't think David Johnson's floor is that high. I still got Todd Gurley down there, and it's a bit of a reach. It's possible he gets back to me. I don't know if you let him get back to me. I like him more. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and do Gurley. I feel like he's got a similar floor to Bell and Fournette where he's going to get a heavy workload. I like his upside more. So we're going to go ahead and grab Gurley here, see what gets back to me. We had Lev Bell and Fournette go right after me. Then we had A.J. Brown and Cooper Kupp before you.
All right, so looking here probably at another wide receiver running back, back-to-back here. Wide receiver position, we're looking at Cooper, Metcalf, Ridley, Allen Robinson, T.Y. I think Metcalf's the guy I like here. With the guy behind me taking 2 receivers already, I think I can probably wait to the 4th round to take him. So we'll pivot back to the running back position. Not looking at tight end or quarterback, but just to see who's there. Just Mahomes and Jackson off the board, just Kelsey and Kittle for tight end. So pretty much the usual there. So here it's kind of just grabbing the guy that I want. You got the chance of going with an upside guy in Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Who knows? Start. But getting the wide receivers that I'm hoping to get here would be nice. I think it's hard to pass up the volume that I just imagine with David Johnson this year. I know we're both not thrilled about him long term, but I think with just the volume he's going to get for 2020 and the just slight uncertainty with Clyde, I think he's going to be good, but I do see maybe early on that he used Damian Williams. You want to get off to that hot start, as a lot of people say. So I'm going to go David Johnson here at the end of the 3rd and hope that I can get DK at the next pick. If not, maybe double down on running backs. We'll see. Cooper and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Perfect. So not too much to say here. Loving to pair DK, who I think he has a good chance of breaking into the wide receiver 1 this year. I think that's one of my bold predictions. I think he is going to just absolutely tear it up, barring them, signing somebody like Antonio Brown, who just announced his 3rd or 4th retirement now. I think, Lockett's the perfect complement to him, but I just think he's going to be used more in the red zone. He's just a beast. So I think pairing him with Adams, I'd love my receiving core. And I'm pretty happy with the running back core with Mixon and David Johnson. So pretty happy with that start there. After that goes Mark Ingram, Devin Singletary, David Johnson, and Juju.
So very interesting spot. I would have really liked like Montgomery here, but there's still some running backs I like. We got Jonathan Taylor, Raheem Mostert, Kareem Hunt, all on the board for me. We'll take a look at wide receiver, Calvin Ridley, Allen Johnson.
New guy.
Allen Robinson. Yeah, I know, right? T.Y. Hilton, Robert Woods, Tyler Lockett. So still plenty of solid options there at the wide receiver position. So I will go ahead and grab another running back here to lock in my 3rd before we start tearing into wide receivers. And it's a tough one. Again, I'm playing it kind of safe. I don't want to be too aggressive and really mess things up here. I really don't know which of these is a safer option. Like Hunt's not going to be the one, so he's kind of going to be up and down. Mostert feels safe, but we know the Shanahan offense features a lot of different running backs, and they switch in and out a lot. So is he that safe? Jonathan Taylor should be the one, but it's a split backfield. So, with the weird training camp, is he even going to get the lion's share to start? They could run Marlon Mack for the first 3 or 4 games, let Jonathan Taylor get used to the NFL in those games, and then really unleash him, which would really hurt me. But I'm going to take that gamble, I guess. He's just he's too good of a talent to do something like that with, at best, 50-50. So I'm going to go ahead and lock in Jonathan Taylor, and then we'll probably turn to the wide receiver position here next. After my pick went Calvin Ridley, Allen Robinson, Mark Andrews, T.Y. Hilton, Tyler Lockett, Kyler Murray, DJ Chark, Raheem Mostert, Russell Wilson, and Robert Woods, which is a shame because Robert Woods would have been an awesome first wide receiver here. We still do have Kareem Hunt, Marlon Mack, Swift on the board, so still some good running back options. At the wide receiver position, we have Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, Odell Beckham. So I'm very comfortable at this spot for these wide receivers. I've mentioned DJ Moore a lot. I've drafted OBJ a few times here recently. So perfectly fine options. I'm going to go with the guy that I trust more in DJ Moore as my first wide receiver. But overall, I like the strategy. Might actually explore this a little bit on a longer mock.
Yeah.
So we're going to lock him in there. We had Keenan Allen, OBJ, Stefon Diggs, and Zach Ertz go off right before you.
It's interesting. A couple guys that I was looking to potentially be falling here. I know Odell Beckham and Zach Ertz. Both guys that I think probably worth more of a end of the fourth round pick. So I thought there would be real nice values there. Here, looking at a couple players. I know I've only got one to pick here, but I'd probably be looking at a Terry McLaurin and Marquise Hollywood Brown are two guys that interest me at the wide receiver position. But just, playing the game with having one team behind you. That team has 3 receivers already, so I'd be pretty confident he won't take 2 more. So I'm looking at, the tight end position. There's really not too many with the top 4 going. Quarterback, Prescott is interesting, but I just can't pass up some of the potential breakout guys at the running back and wide receiver position. So look into my top running back on the board here, and it's going to be DeAndre Swift. I don't like to take rookies too early, and that's kind of the hesitation, taking Clyde in the 3rd round. But getting David Johnson there as the number 2, I would much, rather wait 2 more rounds as I did here and take a DeAndre Swift as my 3rd running back. So I don't have to bank on him being great right away. If he does pan out early, bonus, right? Great for the flex position. Even if it takes him a couple weeks to pan out, I'm sure I can, piece together my flex position with later guys and or players off the waiver wire, wide receivers. So we'll take DeAndre Swift here, just kind of with the notion that I would be looking to go wide receiver in the next round and banking on one of those 2 guys, and then Terry McLaurin or Marquise Brown that I'd be looking at in the next round. So my last pick in this mini mock here would be DeAndre Swift.
Awesome. So let's go ahead and give a quick rundown of our teams. So in the first, I went with Henry. The second, Lamar Jackson. The third, Gurley. The fourth, Jonathan Taylor. And then in the 5th, DJ Moore. Overall, it's a pretty solid strategy, I guess. It's interesting. There's no way DJ Moore's ADP is not in the 5th round. It's in the 3rd.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'd have to check real ADP to see who we'd be looking at here. I don't even think Robert Woods would be here, but you'd probably be looking at that Stefon Diggs, Keenan Allen kind of a tier, which is definitely more worrisome. But overall, it's interesting. I got some good running back depth. I got a high-end quarterback. So what would my wide receivers look like? And then I could go and add a Jordan Howard or a Burrito a little bit later to kind of add a little bit of running back depth. It's an interesting strategy. I'd like to see it play out with actual ADP.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's just and maybe as a full PPR. I don't know if their half-point PPR is way off. I think their full point's a little bit better, but overall not bad. What do you think of your team?
Yeah, pretty happy. I kind of like being toward the end of the first round if I'm not going to have a top 3 or 4 or 5 pick. Joe Mixon first round, Devontae Adams on the short turn, David Johnson in the 3rd round, DK Metcalf and DeAndre Swift. Really like my receiving core. I can definitely get a Terry McLaurin or even get some pop with a Hollywood Brown in the 6th round. But Joe Mixon, David Johnson, I think is a good starting running back core to pair with those receivers. And then the upside of Swift on the bench's flex position is really appealing. So, yeah, overall, I think this the 11th spot's pretty nice.
Awesome. Well, that's going to wrap up today's episode, this little mini mock here. We'll be back tomorrow with a Dynasty startup with a special guest. So tune in then to check out that mock draft. Until then, trust your board.